Hello and welcome to a Squadron 42 update, the single-player campaign of Star Citizen. Every month we look at what CIG are saying about the progress of this campaign, what's new, what's they're struggling with, and when it looks like it's going to be completed, though that one is a little less clear. Squadron 42 has some different needs in the areas of development that it has compared to the Persistent Universe. On one hand, it doesn't need multiplayer, and it's a lot more on rails than a multiplayer universe would be as well, because, you know, it's a single-player game. But it has cinematics, a storyline, and a lot of incredibly high-detailed, high-quality sequences that they've got there instead. So it's sort of like a mixed bag there. Less time spent on coding and development and all that sort of jazz that the PU needs, but a lot more time spent on these, like, incredibly cinematic scenes and areas. Squadron 42 Episode 1 is still listed on the roadmap for a feature-complete beta by the end of Q3 2020, which would be by the end of September. While this could certainly see delays, and we certainly don't know a release date, it's currently shown as being feature-complete beta by then. That's not going to mean it's going to be in players' hands by then. It might be in Ivocati, some of the sort of like test players' hands at that time, but it's likely the only sort of like non-CIG testers that game will get, beyond reviewers, would be, yeah, the Ivocati just before release. That's the sort of expectation there. But optimistically, Squadron 42 Episode 1 could be in players' hands between Q4 2020 and Q2 2021. So Squadron 42 isn't a typical AAA development. CIG have said time and again they will not release it until it's sort of like near perfect in their vision. So bear that in mind. There is no hard release date yet confirmed. So there have been some Squadron 42 features that were targeted for completion in 2019, but have yet to be completed. And I wanted to talk about some of those. A lot of these tasks are being worked on for the Persistent Universe now, but there's a lot of tasks here as well, and features that have had additional bits added to them, and they're evolving them into other features and to their like next iterations of them. So that's one of the other reasons they're sort of like haven't been finished in 2019, is because they wanted to do some work on them in 2020, and there's sort of like more evolutions of these features that they had planned anyway. AI and ships are the most affected sort of like things that weren't completed in 2019. The FPS AI cover usage feature was reopened as they want to get some more polish on it, as was the case with the FPS AI combat weapon types feature. So having AI using cover appropriately, basically, and be able to be set up with different weapons effectively and know what those weapons are and know how to use them. There is also FPS Stealthy 2 that was delayed, with NPC behaviors that allow players to approach an encounter using stealth tactics, and then NPCs react appropriately to potential intruders, what sounds they hear. Do they find a corpse? Do they find blood trails or bullet casings? That sort of stuff. And they sort of like will then transition between different behavior types of how threatened they think they are. There is also Fighter Ace AI, so that's for ships. That's the sort of like some of the top level combat pilot sort of skills, so they'll be able to decouple and have different behaviors based on their loadouts and use the environment in their tactics much more cleverly. They're just basically AI plus very smart AI, and some fighter pilots of the AI will have that ability, others won't, and there sort of will probably be a scale between them. The Javelin, Idris and Bengal capital ships, they haven't been marked as complete either, though it's expected that they're just waiting on some more core tech and some other bits for Squadron 42 to finish them, sort of like associated cinematic scenes and NPC tasks, and sort of like NPCs and AI being able to navigate those ships. This is also true of the Vandal ships as well. They're not marked as complete, but they are most likely at the stage where they're waiting for other tasks to be completed. They're as complete as they can be at this stage, is what I'm trying to say. However, work was done to improve accessibility to ships. They now have a visual viewport selection over ships' item ports and can add them to sequences more easily. This is a huge improvement over the previous long single list of items and item ports that capital ships especially would have. So like the Bengal has thousands and thousands of item ports, so they needed a way of setting up these ships a bit better, and they now have that. But back to features that were supposed to be completed in 2019, the physical damage system, making use of physics sort of to make scenes look spectacular, as well as behave more realistically with ships and objects and being damaged by certain weapons and colliding with other ships. So ramming will be much better. If you're ramming a city or something silly, then there's supposed to be a better engine for that. This also has weapon damage, armor, environment, and damage types, all important to the game. Where you actually hit, what you actually hit, all that sort of stuff is taken much more into account. It's a prerequisite for, or could be coming with, physicalized components. Technically, Squadron 42 could do without physicalized components, although it is part of the core engine for sort of like the persistent universe at the very least, but I would expect physicalized components to be in Squadron 42 still. The power system updates are also something that wasn't finished, but they are working on these more. That's one of the reasons that they were adding to it. So that's expanding the power systems and other systems that it's connected to so that it has power traveling correctly between them. So this includes connecting doors, lighting and lift power systems in a ship or in a facility or a structure or space station, and how EMPs would affect that, how breaking the lines would affect that sort of stuff. The updates to the player status system, which is a focus of 3.9 for the persistent universe anyway, admittedly. So that's still receiving work. There are little simpler needs for some of these features for Squadron, like this only really needs to track your health, hunger and temperature, all that sort of stuff. Might not need to track as many factors as the persistent universe tracks, because they know what you're likely, or they know exactly what you're going to encounter where. There might not be particular sort of like statuses that you'll encounter in Squadron 42, but you will encounter in the persistent universe, if you see what I'm saying. Something else that's sort of been opened up to receive more work is the player interaction system improvements. So that's continued development of the interaction system that lets players select dialogue options, interact with props in the environment, and generally interact with the game. And this has become part of a wider update to the persistent universe and Squadron 42 as well. But there was a few other little things, atmospheric effects, cloth simulation improvements, HDR color processing for appropriate monitors. They all sort of slipped or weren't completed in 2019 like they wanted them to be. Although there is a fair bit listed there, a lot of it seems to be almost complete or requires another feature to be complete before making it complete. Some of those features have been rolled into the next iterations as well, so the next version of them with a bit of a jump, basically, so they don't have to complete certain areas of them, or they don't have to do passes on them or anything like that, because they've already moved on to the next iteration using the other part as a base for that. All of those features are being worked on to some degree though, but CIG have made progress on a lot of their Q1 and Q2 2020 goals. They aren't idling, but if they're waiting for something to be completed, they are moving on to other tasks while they wait for that to be completed. So bear that in mind as well. We have a Squadron 42 newsletter, which came out recently, but we also have the Persistent Universe monthly report, which I've already done a video on, which you can check out down below. It's worth watching because that gives you a lot more context and other features that CIG have worked on, which are almost certainly going to be in Squadron 42, because it's the same engine, it's the same core game, it's the same thing, for the most part anyway. Let's look at some of the other progress that CIG have recently talked about with Squadron 42 in that newsletter, and a bit beyond as well. AI is a big focus, and in my opinion, probably the area that CIG are struggling with most, especially where Squadron 42 is concerned. In addition to continued work on FPS cover and loadouts, they've also finalised an implementation for some of their 3D navigation and pathfinding systems for AI ships, making AI pilots much more aware of their surroundings and safe paths they can take on the fly, how that changes based on what's going on around them, whether that be in space or in atmosphere. They are much more easily able to puppeteer ships for cinematic scenes as well now. They've got some tools to do this, but the IFCS system responds much more precisely to requests saying, please stop this ship. Now, for example, if Oldman's Gladius comes to a halt, the correct thrusters will fire. The systems will make that happen appropriately. Now, this is really important because Squadron 42, for the most part, large portions of it are interactable cinematics. You're still in control of your character, or you can take control of your character. You can press escape on a scene, and you literally might be watching the scene as it unfolds with your character, and you might have come at it from a different angle. You might have taken damage to a ship. Someone that's involved in the scene might have taken damage to the ship, stuff like that. So this stuff's going to be a little bit different every time it plays out, and they need to have the systems in place so that the game will still work appropriately for that. And maybe there's some paths and some changes and bits and bobs that will happen if someone's not there. It's really interesting to know how many variants and how many endings the game's going to have. I'm really, really excited. The Dogfight team are still building out core AI movesets and behaviors to deliver believable and scalable AI for all scenarios. There's a lot of work that's been done on improving the interrupt and join tech. So this is like you moving around and literally talking to NPCs and having them talk to each other, and then you sort of like moving with them or breaking from a conversation, other NPCs breaking from conversations, that sort of stuff. This system now uses subsumption static variables to simplify the logic setup and provide additional triggers, such as area volume. During January, they managed to complete 975 interrupt, busy, and conversation rejoin lines, which is a staggering amount. They are also incorporating the new player facial animations. This involves ensuring that the animation triggers and synchronizes correctly. One particular complex scene that involves 6 characters preparing for battle made great progress, with animation and weapon handling flowing seamlessly. CIG's gameplay story team said, "We've got plenty more background elements and post-scene animations to complete, but I'm certain this scene," the one we were just talking about, "will become a highlight for our team's work on Squadron 42. Very much looking forward to stuff like that. Characters. So they've been updating their hairstyles and adding new tech. Head update passes have been made. That's getting all these new hairstyles and all that sort of jazz completed. Development continued on the Vandal race, with the teams there working closely with Tech Animation, who are developing their internal rig logic system. Squadron 42 uniforms were brought up to the latest standard, including the bridge officer uniform that was updated courtesy of the new material library. So, there's been a bit of a focus on the Gen 12 and Vulkan rendering stuff that's going to continue for several months. This is a major project that will improve renderer performance, achieve higher frame rates, and open the door to various new GPU technologies, as well as a more inclusive, agnostic approach to hardware and software solutions where possible. The VFX guys have been sort of examining their GPU particle system stuff and prioritizing features for Squadron 42's needs, and they're sort of like replacing older CPU particles with this new GPU system. It's going to be much more efficient, allow for much better looking graphics, and there was just general improvements to graphics and effects as well. They've also expanded CPU multi-threading to 30 threads for the engine, and they are making improvements to further reduce potential stalls and idling when it comes to sort of like the loading and asset needs of Squadron 42 and Star Citizen as well. More generally to the game, level design peeps are pushing on with the AI behaviors, like how they move around particular scenes and levels, the level markup stuff, and moving some of the less detailed grey box blockouts to their final states. They're also finalising the design of Squadron 42 specific helmet UIs that they're going to be implementing in the game. And along with this, you're going to see new UIs, HUDs, MFDs, and 3D icons with the new 3D building block system for ships, environments, and interactables. And that's it for this month. And looking at Squadron 42, we are expecting a major roadmap update for 4.1 on the Persistent Universe side of things next week, or this week actually. What am I talking about? This week. And 4.2 in the near future. I would also expect some tweaks to the Squadron 42 roadmap at some point, but I will keep you apprised on anything that changes. What do you think, though? When do you think we'll see Squadron 42 Episode 1 released? Are you happy with the progress that they're making this year on Star Citizen and Squadron 42? Do you already own, or are you planning to buy Squadron 42? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. February 2020's giveaway is for a Cutlass Black and upgrade to a Cutlass Red as well, which you can apply separately, and a Star Citizen game package with that. So you don't need to own Star Citizen already. This is the full shebang. All you need to do to be in for a chance to win that is just comment on any of my videos made during this month. There are the full details in the description below. I'm a massive shill for a couple of services that you might find useful. NordVPN, they provide an affordable VPN service that provides many improvements over a free VPN. I use them. They have a huge range of servers, allowing you additional safety, security, and help you get access to content. It's usable while you're playing games or streaming or whatever. You can find the links down below, or use the code BoredGamer to get up to 70% off and an additional free month as well. There's ShadowTech as well. They are a subscription-based cloud gaming PC service, allowing you to stream a gaming PC environment to another device, meaning that you don't need to own a gaming PC or upgrade. You can stream to your phone, you can stream to a lesser PC or a laptop or whatever. They are planning some amazing 4K gaming systems for 2021, and there's a waiting list for them, but you can use their Boost service, which is great for Star Citizen currently, and new accounts will activate in April for that. Right in time for Star Citizen now for 3.9. Again, links below, and use the code BoredGamer for discount. BoredGamer is a community-supported channel, and you can help by liking, subscribing, and sharing these videos, as well as sharing your feedback in the comments below, or even emailing me at contact@boredgamer.co.uk. There's loads of links below to all my sort of social medias and Discord servers and all that sort of jazz. Viewers that would like to go beyond that, there is Patreon and YouTube channel membership. The join button below the videos. That gives us extra money so that I can, you know, expand the channel and buy hardware and all that sort of jazz. It really does help. There are some bonuses and exclusives for those people as well, but I do want to make content for everyone regularly, so you are helping support that. Content for everyone! Woo! Thank you so much for watching. I wish you good fortune for February and in the verse.